problem. I wouldn't put too much emphasis on being the male, because my sister's here today and she's gotten through this to a much more severe extent in the last couple of years than even I have. And I admire her for what she's been through. Looking back, I probably had GERD fought it for 10 years. I just didn't know enough to call it that or to understand how serious it could be. I took Tums every day, once or twice a month. In the first couple hours of sleeping during the night, I would burp up stomach acid to the extent that it would actually go down into my lungs, and then I'd end up sitting there coughing up acid out of my lungs, burning acid for several minutes. And then, of course, that led to even more Tums taking. Eventually, I started to taking the histamine blockers, the Pepsid AC, the famotidine, before dinner, and then eventually before both lunch and dinner. And I thought things were fairly well under control at that point. At least a lot of the worst symptoms had gone. But last February, I went to see my primary care physician, Dr. Laird, and he heard all of this, and he wanted me to go have an endoscopy to have that checked out. So I did. In March, I went with Dr. Schmidt, and he discovered that I had inflammation, severe inflammation of my esophagus, and that I had Barrett's esophagus. So he put me on, in addition, not only did I have Barrett's, but it was advancing apparently into the more severe condition, dysplasia, the precancerous state. So he put me on a strong dosage of Dexilant, which was one of the proton pump inhibitors. And that immediately relieved my symptoms, my stomach acid problems, far more than any of the previous medications. And since then, since last March, I've had no more occasions of the stomach acid burping up at night and the heartburn problems. I was on that for 3 months to reduce the inflammation, and they went back in and with another endoscopy, and just, the inflammation was gone, but I still had the Barrett's, of course. So at that point, he recommended that I see Dr. Fusco and undergo these halo treatments. On August 4th last year, Dr. Fusco went in to do the first halo treatment, and he found on my esophagus a small nodular tumor there. It's probably, like the end of a little finger size thing. The suspicion was that it was adenocarcinoma, and esophageal cancer. He referred me immediately to the Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville, where GI specialists do this procedure. You heard about endoscopic mucosal resection. They actually go in and they inject a saline solution under the tumor, which causes it to blister up, and then they can use the vacuum pump to pull it up and then cut it off and pull it out. Now, EMR can only be used to remove such tumors when they're small, before they've grown down into the lining. It starts on the surface and it progresses downward, and once it gets past a certain point into the esophagus, where it's into the muscle tissue, and then it can actually break out into the lymph node system, and by then you're in very serious trouble, and you have to do more extensive surgery and esophagus removal and the like. So I did the initial exam at Mayo on August 27th last year. Just so happened that they had a special study going on with a new machine that does what's called volumetric laser endomicroscopy, VLE, which actually goes in and can I don't want to call it sonar or radar, but it's kind of a concept that can actually looked from the inside out at what's going on in all the layers of the esophagus and try to gauge how deep any tumors or cancers have been. And that exam indicated it had probably not advanced below my lining, which was, of course, a good thing. So I had the EMR surgery at Mayo on September 4th of last year, and the pathology report said the tumor was most likely adenocarcinoma, but that it was contained in the deep margins of the tissue sample. That is, when they got to the end of where they cut out was laterally and downward, there was no cancer at that point. So that's an indication that they were able to get it all with the EMR surgery. I'm currently undergoing halo treatments with Dr. Fusco every 2 months here in Melbourne. I'm very thankful for God's providence, and I'm extremely grateful to Drs. Laird, Schmidt, and Fusco here in Melbourne, and Drs. Wilson and Wallace in Jacksonville. And I'm particularly grateful to Dr. Fusco for catching the tumor and for his help in getting me in for the EMR surgery so quickly. I have no doubt that the efforts by him and the other doctors have added years to my life, Lord willing. That's it.
At this point, I'd like to just kind of invite everyone up, and we'll answer any questions you all have, and then we'll do our raffle. Thanks. Yes.